Hi, I'm here with a friend, another transgender fellow like myself. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How you doing? Let's see. I am a 55-year-old trans man. I am an East Coaster, originally from New York, and have shifted across the country, and now I'm on the West Coast, happily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is nice out here.
It's beautiful, yeah.
How long have you been transitioning?
I just wrote this up, one for my 1 year.
Okay, so using hormones for the last year.
Hormones.
Which I think is amazing. First of all, I am fascinated the way that different people's bodies react to hormones. I always thought like, oh, well, maybe my developments are happening slower because I'm older. But look at you, you're older than me. You're changing quite quick.
Yeah.
Your beard is coming in real nicely.
Stuff going on.
And your body looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you expect that?
Well, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I know that on my mother's side, the men are all pretty kind of beefy, thick guys with a lot of hair.
Right.
So, and as a female-bodied person, I've always had a lot of hair. So
yeah. So there was a preview.
Yeah,
Lots
a
of
little
previews.
bit. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And how does it feel now? How do you feel in general about your process, about your body?
I feel great. I feel great about my body. I feel when I look in the mirror, as people say, kind of stereotypically, that like there I am. Finally.
You can see yourself.
There you are.
Yeah.
Echo. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've only been, quote unquote, passing as male in the public for about 6 months.
So here you are. I think this is a very fascinating part of your story. Over 50 years walking in this world, perceived as a woman, as a queer woman, and then in the last 6 months, you're just this guy, right?
Yeah.
How did you get to this place? What was your... how did you feel or know that you were transgender? And was it intimidating thinking about this late in life making these big changes?
Yeah. Extremely intimidating. I knew I was trans, I knew when I was 5 years old, kind of a stereotypical story,
Right.
1965. I was 5 years old, whoa, I'm old, and, I would go around, I'm Bobby, I'm Johnny,
You'd use these male names to introduce yourself.
Yeah, constantly. And my sister would be like, would you shut up? You're not a boy. And my parents were like...
How did you feel when they said that? Like, you're not a boy? Were you like, yeah, I guess so? Or were you like, but I feel like a boy? Like,
well, I knew.
Internally.
I knew I was male. I absolutely knew I was male. And I wasn't 100% sure. As a little kid, you don't quite know. I thought I was going to grow up and become my father or look like my dad, because that's what I felt inside.
I did the same thing. I was writing something, and I was like, I bet you when I'm an old man, I'm gonna have like this huge long beard, and I'm still gonna be writing in the same notebook that I have. Like, and I pictured myself as an adult, like just as this old man.
Wow.
But that's the same. I think that's remarkable.
Yes.
But go on.
Yeah.
So you had this strong sense of self as you were younger, but then what happened? Because there was like a few decades between where you just went with the flow.
I mean, I just want to say that. So my mother and my father were they were artists, so they were very, very hip and kind of, as far as gender stereotypes, even in the 60s, they didn't buy into it, and they were very open. And they just, they taught me how to use real tools, and they...
So they were letting you explore your masculinity.
Absolutely.
And
they just accepted who I was. I was a total tomboy.
And so you didn't have to force or push this this is my identity, because you weren't being held back.
Yeah, it was totally... Even my father was very open, and then years later I found out that my father was bisexual.
Whoa.
My mother told me.
Whoa, that's a big deal, yeah.
So he was like, they were very open people, and, living in New York. And then, as happens a lot, like as I grew up, I realized at a very young age, as a teenager, when I was about 15, 16, I realized, I'm a dyke, you know, and I was, you know, very butch always,
Yeah.
and so I just thought, okay, oh, that's what I am, even though I still knew I was trans.
There's a dog down there. So then what happened?
Then, let's see. So what happened?
One day,
What
some kind of catalyst occurred, and you realized that you could actually take this plunge using hormones. What was the?
Well, part of it is, let's see. Let me try and trim it down. It's tough.
Yeah.
I'm a psychotherapist, and so for a long time, over a period of time, I should say, I started working with more and more trans people, and I started seeing myself in them, obviously, more and more, because I was seeing more and more, because more and more people were coming out, because times are changing. Because, ironically, almost every trans person that I was working with had already transitioned.
Oh.
So, just by chance, it was really odd. And so, they weren't coming to me for issues about transitioning. They just were dealing with life and whatever was going on in their life.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow, you know, wow, you know. And then probably the biggest catalyst was two people that I had been very close to transition to trans men, and yeah, one of them was a very close friend in Italy when I lived in Italy, and the other person was a supervisor of mine who was my age, basically my age, maybe a little bit older than me.
So you saw it was possible.
And I was blown away, because that person was the same kind of butch lesbian, and we were very similar. There were a lot of similarities.
So
I was like, oh my God, you know.
So what you're saying is, like, for you needed to see an example of yourself succeed in order to feel like you could do it. Is that true?
Maybe in part. I think the other part was when I finally moved to the West Coast with a new partner who was very, very open. And from the beginning, when I started dating with her, I shared that, you know, basically I was genderqueer / trans, and I didn't know if I would transition or not. She was open to it. She suggested I go to therapy and talk about it. You know,
She suggested to her psychotherapist.
I mean, I've been in therapy for eons, because therapists are in therapy, but I had never been to a gender therapist, and it was a trans man that I went to.
Yeah.
And in that process with him, he helped me to really unpack my how do I say, my all the years of kind of not forcing myself, but just saying to myself, I can never change my body, just accept it, this is the way you are, I'm too old, all those things I said to myself, you can't do it, just live with it, you know. And we just explored all of that, and you know, actually I said to him, what it felt like was like I had drawn a line in the sand, or the society had drawn a line in the sand.
An arbitrary line.
And said, you can't ever cross over that line. You can never be that. Give it up.
Right.
And then someone came along and said, you know that line that we drew?
Yeah. It's just
Well,
a line.
that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You can cross over anytime you want.
It's not a wall. It's not a locked door. It's just this thing that you can easily move through.
And you know, you have to understand that, you know, from my perspective at this age and what I've lived through.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I came out as a dyke when I was a teenager in high school in the 70s. And it was not okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't cool to be gay back then.
It's like,
you know, transitioning wasn't even a concept. When I was a kid,
I see what you're saying.
When I was a kid, they didn't have a word transgender. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I had to really do a paradigm shift. And it was huge. It was, for me, you know, for most people my age, I mean,
that's very
it's
good.
Huge.
And, you know, I listen closely to the way that you frame that, the way that you're saying that. It's not only people from your generation that feel this, like, it's not it's just not a thing. It's not real. It's hardly, I can hardly wrap around it. It's also something that people in other countries have to sort of really people from other cultures, people even within here the United States that live in a really religious area, they're like, well, there are those people, but I'm not those people. I come from this kind of family and this kind of religion, and we don't have that in our like, it's not real here. So a lot of people have to take that step out, or to see where they are, to look down into this reality that they've been born into, and then unpack it, like you were saying.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really fascinating. I liked how you articulated that.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, for me it was, also just getting to a point where, kind of saying to myself, it's okay to be me. It's okay to really allow the deeper layer of who I am to be actualized.
Yeah.
Just to let it be. And I'm still, I'm only a year in, so it's I'm still, it's still a trip when I walk around the world and, yes, sir, can I help you, buddy?
And even you had
it's a trip.
Some a touching memory with your mom. I mean, your mom, she's still alive. She's known you all this time, and she's seen you recently and really is able to grasp it as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, she's been amazing. My mother's 87, lives in New York. Yeah, she's a trip. I mean, in the beginning when I first told her, I mean, it's so funny because I say, I moved out to the West. She was like, "What? You're moving? Why can't you wait till I die?" She was just like freaking out about that. And then when I came out as trans, she was like, "Well, of course, okay. You always were better at football than the boys." And I was like, "Mom, like, I'm trans." She's like, "All right, I mean, it was hard for her. She didn't think that I was going to medically transition.
Oh, I see.
Because I think initially, and this kind of speaks to the issues again about passing and, the way we are so in this, the binary is so powerful. Because I think she was, after she finally saw me, after transitioning for a year, and she was kind of stunned that I looked like a guy, and that I had a deep voice, and she was kind of shocked and thought I looked like the son that she might have had, which was cool, but it was weird because I realized later on that she was fearful that I might look odd, and I think she was worried that I would look weird somehow, like half male, half female, and I don't think she understood that you can transition and look completely male. So it was interesting to see.
She got it. She got blown away by the results.
It was wild.
Cool. Well, I simply am impressed with your life and your story, and you look great. I've been noticing that.
Thank you.
And it's great. I think again, it's never too late. Is one of the important things that you really can show to the world, and good luck with your future.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I hope I'm in your future.
Yeah, you totally better be in my future.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want to also just say that, I think that I love your channel. I discovered you, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is so interesting and fun and creative, and I was just totally drawn to your, the way you go deeper, the way you explore, and you interview so many different people and don't just focus on the body, but more of the process of.
Thanks a lot.
The whole process, yeah.
Thanks a lot. I'll continue to do the good work.
I love it.
Spontaneous question. Sorry. Sorry about that. Wait, before you go out of the area there, do you pee standing up or sitting down?
I do both. My STP.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened. I was out and I was with people, and I went to this public bathroom, and I was like, I'm gonna do the fucking STP, right? And I pissed all on my pants. So I use it at home. I do it at home. Not all the time, but every now and then. And yeah.
Are you just working on mastering it?
Yes.
I gotcha. Are
'Cause
you
there's-
getting better?
Yes.
Good.
Because I'm not gonna, I can't risk, like, going to the bathroom and pissing on myself at work or something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?